Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something that affects us all. How powerful industries can shape our world, sometimes right under our noses, and our focus. It seems sweet, but it's complicated. Sugar.
Yeah, we've looked at source material detailing how the U.S. sugar industry's influence, well, it runs deep. It touches scientific research, public health policy, even government regulations.
So our mission here is to give you a shortcut, right? To understand this tangle of economic power and how it impacts society, impacts you.
Exactly. You'll hopefully get a critical lens to see how information gets shaped and, why that really matters for your health.
Okay, let's dive in. To get a handle on this influence, we need to talk about the sheer scale of the sugar industry's economics. It's huge.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking over 151,000 jobs, something like $23 billion generated annually. It's a major economic force.
And it's propped up by these protectionist policies, things like price supports, import quotas.
Right, and these aren't new. They date back to 1934 and keep getting reauthorized.
What does that actually do, though?
Well, the effect is it artificially inflates sugar prices here in the U.S. Often they're like 100% higher than what the rest of the world pays.
Wow, double the price.
Yeah, and estimates suggest this costs American consumers somewhere between, say, $2.4 and $4 billion every year.
So basically, we're paying extra, and that extra money is, in a way, funding the industry's efforts to keep those prices high.
That's a big part of it. That financial cushion is a core driver for their political engagement.
Okay, that's the money. But here's where, for me, it gets really concerning. The idea that they actively manipulated the science. Tell us about Project 226.
Right, Project 226, this was back in 1965. The Sugar Research Foundation essentially paid Harvard nutrition scientists.
Paid them to do what?
To write a literature review for the New England Journal of Medicine. And crucially, this review really downplayed sugar's connection to heart disease.
And instead pointed the finger at
The dietary fat.
Yeah.
It shifted the blame. And the kicker, they didn't disclose the sugar industry's funding or involvement.
So wait, hidden payments literally skewed dietary advice. Advice we all followed for, decades.
Pretty much. Internal documents later showed the industry wasn't just a sponsor. They were, and I quote, heavily involved throughout the review process. They were apparently quite satisfied with the results because it matched their goals.
That's staggering. Direct interference shaping what we thought was healthy.
It fundamentally biased dietary recommendations for a long, long time.
And it didn't stop at twisting science, did it? They influenced official guidelines, too.
No, they went further. In the 60s and 70s, lobbying efforts actually prevented national research into sugar's link with cavities.
Prevented research. So what did they promote instead?
They pushed what they called deflection strategies, things like focusing on tooth decay vaccines instead of sugar intake. And get this, one analysis found that 78% of a sugar industry submission was just copied directly into the National Institute of Dental Research's official call for research proposals.
78%. Just lift it.
Seems like it. And even more recently, think 2020, the Scientific Advisory Committee for the Dietary Guidelines recommended limiting added sugar to less than 6% of calories, aligning with WHO, AHA.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
Right. But officials rejected that advice in the final guidelines. The limit stayed higher.
It really paints a picture of a consistent long-term strategy. This sounds like a playbook.
It does. Many have drawn parallels to the tobacco industry's historical playbook. Funding friendly science, casting doubt, lobbying hard.
And the lobbying, it's significant.
Oh, yeah. Over $16 million just in 2024 so far. And between 1990 and 2016, more than $40 million in campaign contributions.
Is it partisan?
It's strategically bipartisan. Roughly 57% went to Democrats, 43% to Republicans in that period. They cover their bases.
And we hear about powerful families, right? Like the Fengels controlling brands like Domino Sugar.
Exactly. They're often cited as examples of multi-generational influence, donating across the aisle to maintain policies that favor their industry.
Which leads to this idea of policy capture.
Precisely. Where the industry's interests sort of override the public good, decisions get made that benefit the industry, not necessarily your health or your wallet. And, that erodes public trust over time.
It's easy to get focused just on sugar, but you're saying this pattern, this playbook, it's bigger than just one industry.
Unfortunately, yes. Think about the major players: health, finance, tech, oil and gas. They all pour enormous sums into lobbying. We're talking $4.2 billion in 2023 alone, plus campaign contributions.
And the effect.
Well, some studies suggest it creates a system where the average citizen feels like they have almost near zero impact on actual policy outcomes.
And legal concepts like corporate personhood play into this?
They do, especially after the Citizens United Supreme Court decision in 2010. It strengthened the idea that corporations have free speech rights, similar to individuals, allowing essentially unlimited independent spending in elections.
So corporations can spend massively to influence politics and then argue regulations infringe on their rights.
That's the critique. It amplifies corporate voices in politics and allows them to challenge regulations designed for public protection.
This whole history of influenced information, it really makes you think about today, especially with AI becoming so prevalent.
That's a crucial point. If AI systems are trained on vast data sets that inevitably include some of this historically skewed information shaped by industry,
Yeah.
well, there's a risk.
A risk they just repeat the biases.
Yeah, they could inadvertently perpetuate these skewed perspectives. Making sure AI gives us comprehensive, factual output means we need to be really careful. Prioritize critically vetted data, include diverse viewpoints that actually expose manipulation, and definitely keep humans in the loop for oversight.
It's a lot to take in. Understanding these patterns, this hidden hand, it feels vital for, cutting through the noise today, for making informed choices.
Absolutely. This deep dive shows just how tightly linked economic power, policy decisions, and the information you receive really are.
So the question for you, listening, is maybe. In this flood of information, how do you find what's truly independent? What's unbiased?
And maybe, what role can each of us play in pushing for more transparency, more accountability from both these powerful industries and the institutions meant to regulate them? Something to think about.